everybody. So glad to be here with you all for another session. This is our 10th session. Kind of crazy to think about. We've been doing this for just about a month. It's going great, and every stream we keep getting better. We keep improving the the audio quality, the video quality, the technology, the actual writing itself, my comfort on camera, and actually the myths themselves continue to evolve. So we are currently on the fourth of 7 myths, and really excited to be jumping in today. That's right. So if you destroy one enemy, two are often created, and in the case of the Hydra, you split two necks. You split one neck, and two necks come out. And we also learned from the Hydra series that although it seems somewhat futile to be cutting off these necks, etc., be due to the paradox of violence, in reality, you are also rewarded though for this effort. For example, Heracles was able to dip his arrows in the blood of the Hydra, which was poisonous, which then equipped him for the subsequent labors that he was going to work on. So although violence does beget violence, you actually do earn something. You earn some material reward from defeating the Hydra. And so we're going to go ahead and review exactly what we were up to last time. And so essentially where this myth begins is that there are these two buddies, one and other. That's what their names, okay? One with a capital O, other with a capital O. And they go up to this spire and they fight this enemy, and they are killed by this enemy called Three Fang. They're able to defeat the enemy. One of them dies, and the other one, overcome with grief, decides to sacrifice himself in order to leave messages behind for future people to come and find, so that they would not so suffer as they had. And so no one and so no other should so suffer is the exact language here. And where we pick up in this story is that the next round of people, the next round of creatures are going to be coming alive, and then they're going to find the stories that were left behind. And so that is all that you really need to know as we dive into this myth. So if we start at the top, and again, I'm not going to actually read it all out loud just yet. We have too much writing to do today, and I don't think that that's going to be the interesting content. We're going to review the stuff, and then I'm going to tell you about the new format that we have today, which is going to be a timed writing session, but I'll explain that in a moment here. So from a coursing river of fire and stone, he forms twin two hands to see that he foresaw. So he's creating these next avatars, like we said, who are going to then go ahead and find the messages, the stories left behind. Twin two hands, that's their name. It was the same form as the last ones. Another, one, and an other. So if we remember, one and other were the homies from the last myth. Now we have another one and an other. So you can see the playfulness of the language here as we continue to move on. But we're moving forward, you'll see that another one just becomes one as we move forward to make it easier. But in its first reference, it's called another one. And they hold on to each other because they have two hands. That's what they do. And they are hunting a beast, okay? And this guy, we're going to come back and fix his name. But and so what do? They grasp. One grasps, another reaches into the known and the unknown. One reaches and another grasps into the unknown and known. And imagine these are, this is how I really believe humans should be interacting with their life, which is one hand grasping in the known and the other reaching out into the unknown. And as you can see, I have some notes here, some highlights, which is where we're going to be wanting to work on, which is that finally they get to where their enemy is. But this time they've actually learned from the past, right? And so if we see here, they find the staff and they find the spear, and they hold and behold the sufferings of one another. So in this case, in this time, they are actually learning from the mistakes of those who came before them. Now we have the actual fight at the top, and you can see the spire sequence is one of the goals that I have for today. We're going to have to dive into that specifically today. This is a continuation of that, and yeah, let's dive in here. That's where we're starting, where we get these two new creations, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to find the myth. They're going to go ahead and find the stories. And we do have a new format here today I want to introduce to you all, which is we're going to have 7 minutes and 7 seconds. As you know, the number seven is extraordinarily important and of religious significance in our world. In our mythology, there are seven myths, there are seven planets. And so we are going to do 7 minutes and 7 seconds of quiet writing while I'm pursuing one of these goals, and I'll declare what that goal is. And then after that, we'll come back and see if I accomplish those goals, and we can check back in. So I think let's talk about the first goal that we want to. This is going to be tri-scale. I don't think this requires a full. So if we look at these goals on the side, I did come up with a couple over here, which is replacing another with one, right? So I think that's just going to be an easier way for it to be heard, for it to be reviewed, and for it to be read. And I think that it's quite clear because we still have the capital O here, that another one is actually one in and of itself. So then we are going to tidy the serpent naming. As you can see, that was like thrice scaled. I'm going to call it tri-scaled now. I think that's a little bit cleaner. We're going to have to continue working on those as we come across them, but I don't think that they quite count as sufficient goals for our quiet writing period. So now we go one grass and other reaches, known, unknown, one reaches and other grass, unknown, known. This all works. I think what we're going to want to do is the sequence of them actually arriving to the spire. So the sequence of them arriving to the spire is what my quiet writing goal is going to be. And while we're doing the quiet writing goal, I just want everybody to feel extremely relaxed and cozy and vibed out. Maybe do your own writing, maybe check your phone, maybe check your planner, maybe text a buddy, and it's going to be quite relaxing, hopefully. And we're going to go through the sequence, and I'll tell you exactly what we ended up accomplishing once that writing is done. So without further ado, let's settle into our first ever timed quiet writing session here. So. focused. That was our first ever quiet writing session. Went pretty fast over on my end. Feels like it kind of went by in a blur. But let's review what we did. I think we did accomplish what we're talking about. What we were trying to accomplish is the moments when one and another actually get to the spire, the sequence that they use their spear, their staff that they inherited from those who came before them to actually fight the bad guy, to actually fight twice scaled. And we were able to clean up this part here where they hold. No, this is where we started. We started here where they had beheld the sufferings of one another, and then we used the so comma, and I've never used that yet in these myths. The so comma, it definitely demonstrates a direct relationship between what came before it and what came after it. And what we're saying is that one is a result of the other. So, like that. So you have the sufferings of one and other, and you have so it's clear that they're connected. The so and other, it's clear that they're connected, right? The reason that we do that, the staff is rooted before a spire, is because of they held and beheld the sufferings of one another. Okay, so let's continue reviewing what we just came up with. Then we have, actually I can hide this while it's down, and we'll pull it back up when we start the next quiet writing session. But for now, we're doing a walkthrough. So because of the sufferings of one another that they learn from, the and other decides to root a staff before a spire. And so this is before they actually get there. He's rooting down. He's making sure that they're clamped down, because in the past one of them fell from the top. And so we have so comma, another roots a staff before a spire. So one thrusts a spear past a spire. So we're saying that if we look back at the last myth, many of the homies died when they got to the top and they were wrapped by sun splendor. And so what we're saying here is that in this case, one of them roots before a spire and the other thrusts past the spire. So they're not getting stuck on the top. They are actually learning from the past and deciding to go before it and go after it into dark steps. So instead of being wrapped by sun splendor, instead of being basking in the glory of what it is that you just accomplished, instead, what's happening is that you're using that moment at the top, that glorious moment at the top, to actually plunge your spear into and attack the evil that is in dark steps. So that's quite an important learning. What we next came up with is here, which is quite clean, and you'll find that we use this idea of there, comma, so, comma. It's quite powerful, right? It kind of really sets up the rest of the lines, and we have an until comma. We have a few of these, and we definitely like that rhythm. And here is where we get into that idea of the hydra that we spoke about in last myth, where we say there one splits triscale. So our good guy one, he splits triscale. But the issue is, because due to the paradox of violence, from triscale spilt, right? Things are going to come out of him. You can't just kill him. What we get is 2 5-spine. We get 2 new creations. We get 2 new bad guys. But in addition to the 2 bad guys that we get, we actually get 3 scales also, because his name is Triscale. So, hi, Adam Eli. Welcome back. Welcome back to the broadcast. It's so good to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. We are trying some new formatting today. You could see I'm trying to keep my goals clear on the right, and we have a little countdown where I do a little quiet writing for a moment, so people can kind of just vibe out. We'll see how it feels. And we're making great progress already today. I think the quiet writing has worked, at least on my end so far. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to watch it back to see if it seems boring. And another thing I've set up today, Adam Eli, which I think you'll be interested in, as I know you're quite fluent in social media, is the ability to take these, whatever I make today. You can see the formatting is a little bit different. I should be able to turn these into vertical clips if there's any highlights that come out of this, because it's going to be extremely difficult for us to get discovered without posting to other platforms. And so we're starting to learn to optimize our broadcasts and everything like that, so that if there's some highlights that are worthy, we'll be able to clip these out and turn them vertical, and then start hopefully growing the channel. So we just talked about, I know you were here in the last myth. So we said that here at the top, he uses his spear, he kills the bad guy, but who's Triscale, and we just remembered that from the Hydra, from Triscale spilt 2 5 spines, so we get 2 new bad guys. But in addition, we also do get the material benefits of the 3 scales because his name is Triscale. We get the benefit of the 3 scales, which we are going to be using to build our house later, our community later. So it's an important point to remember here. So now let's think about what we need to do next before we jump into our next writing session, our next quiet writing session. We are going to need to come up with a plan. I want to be very clear with you all what it is exactly that I'm working on, so that anytime that you see during one of these quiet writing sessions, all you have to do is rewind a tiny bit, and you'll be able to see exactly what it is that I'm tinkering on in real time. I'm working really hard to get materials together so that there's always going to be materials for people to catch up on exactly what it is that I'm writing. I know a lot of these things are abstract. They really are understandable if you're fully caught up. So there's going to be more tools coming out for that very soon. So we just said that when the bad guy comes out, we split it out. What comes next? Sorry. What comes next is that they need to hunt the 5 spine, right? So if 2 5 spine come out of 1 Triscale, now one another are going to have to hunt this guy, and that's what we're going to be working on. We're going to be talking about the hunt. So there's these 2 guys, one and other, and they're homies. They have 2 hands each. One of them has a staff and one of them has a spear, and they're going to be hunting this new guy that just came out. They killed Triscale, but from Triscale, out of it came 2 5 spine, and we learned that that's the paradox of violence. And so we're going to do another quiet writing session here, but that we're going to be working on the hunt of 5 spine. So you'll see this new countdown I just made, and I'm gonna jump in and do a little writing here, and I'll catch you all in a few. You'll see right here exactly what I'm working on. people were clicking the collaborative quiet. So remember, we killed Scale, right? And outside of him comes two 5-spine, which are creatures. When you see this capitalization structure here, you can tell that it's a real creature. Whereas when you see 3 scales like this, these are just materials that come out. They continue on hunting because new serpents have come out, and they're hunting him, and they act in accordance with it. They grasp and reach. That's what they do, right? They have known and unknown, reach and grasp. Same thing. Known, unknown. And we'll have a nice. You can imagine that the ultimate version of this is actually hymns, right? Where there's going to be a rhythmic cadence to it. When you see every time you do the grasp, reach, known, unknown, reach, grasp, unknown, known, there's a sort of repetitive rhythm that's going to make it quite powerful, I think. So they continue hunting him until back, and this I need to work on together with you all a bit, is until 5-spine is blocking where they began. So this time there's a guy actually there's a creature blocking their way home. We need to clean that up, and we can do that live, not in a quiet writing session here. So what's happening is they're hunting this guy. They're continuing to go around and around, and when they want to get back where they begin, they encounter 5-spine. I think we change the order here. We say until is block the correct word? I don't think so. Let's think about it. Let's think about the different options that we have. Right, obviously block is saying what we're saying, is that they're trying to get back to where they began. They're trying to get back home, and there's a serpent with 5 spines blocking their way. Thing is that I wonder if there's something more spiny that we could do, that makes it more clear why they can't pass. What are synonyms? Let's see what AI says. Just using it as a thesaurus here. Obstacle, hindrances. I'm talking about the verb obstructs, blocks, bars, prevents, halts, hinders, inhibits, frustrates. None of these are that good. I guess halt would be the best. Obstructs, maybe that's kind of what we're saying. I think we're going to go with stops. The reason being that we have an S and a P in here, right? So we have 5-spine SP. And then we could go for stops. You have the S and the P. So for right now, that's the best word that we have. Feels a little modern. Stop. Feels a little bit like a stop sign. And obviously, we're talking about mythology here, and we're not trying to use modern language at all. We're trying to use timeless language, remembering that myths are not stories that happened. They are stories that happened, are happening, and will continue to happen. Timeless truths beyond one tense. So stop feels slightly modern to me, in a way that's a little difficult to explain, but it's something that we can work on in the moving forward. I don't want to get hung up on it. Ultimately, a lot of this stuff is going to have to rhyme anyway, so we're going to have to be tweaking and tinkering with it anyway. Let's continue. So I think we're in a good spot to then the last time that we had a little we had one of our quiet writing sessions was we talked about the hunting of 5 spine. And in this upcoming writing session, we're going to talk about, okay, so we did this one. Add another goal here. This is the first time that we're doing these quiet writing sessions with the goals on the side. We'll see how it works. If you have any feedback, obviously, feel free to throw it in the chat, but we're going to talk about writing top spine. That's going to be our goal for this upcoming quiet writing session. Think in, relax, not going anywhere. Got a lot of writing still to do today. I'm not going anywhere. Let's get the timer going and we'll get cooking. First time chat, M. Frank. Yo, what's up? What's up, M. Frank? How you doing? Before I jump into my writing, I'll give you a little update. You are the first real human chatter that we've had at Twitch today, so I want to make sure that you feel welcome. You are early days here on this brand new project that we're working on, where I'm going to be writing these original cosmogonic myths live on stream. I've been a writer for over 18 years. I think I've got a little talent and a lot of grit, and I've been going at this for a long time. You can find a little bit more background about me on my YouTube channel. But today we're working on the 4th of 7 myths, and we are doing it live. And we are practicing what is going to be known as these like quiet writing sessions. I'm going to refresh the timer in a second, but I did want to make sure you felt welcome. And Frank, you're always welcome here, and feel free to ask any questions on exactly what we're working on. But essentially, I'm going to hop in and do a little quiet writing for the next couple minutes and then reflect on what that is. So welcome, M. Frank. Really glad to have you here, and thanks for hopping in the chat. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you stuck around. We got to see a little bit of what we're working on. It's supposed to be a little quiet, a little vibey, and I'm going to be collecting all the best highlights of everything that happens into VODs that people can watch. But I think some people, some rare, interesting folks, may be interested in how the sausage is made and want to get to know me as we go on this journey together. And so let's talk about what we just wrote. We have two homies, one and another. That's their names. Another, say this, one and another. So those are the two homies. And they killed a bad guy named Five Spine. He's a serpent. But what happens is, due to the paradox of violence, when they split, one, two spill out. So they kill Five Spine and out comes 2 7 Rattle. Shit. But in addition, they get 5 spines, right? Because the guy was a 5 spine, they get some new materials that they didn't have before. He leaves behind some spines. So the two homies, one and another, they reflect on everything that's happened so far. And so what has happened so far? The first bad guy that was defeated was Three Fang, and he became 2 Tri-Scale. I'm going to use become because it sounds a little more mythic here. 1 3 Fang becomes 2 Tri-Scale, became 2 Tri-Scale. 1 Tri-Scale became 2 5 Spine. 1 5 Spine became 2 7 Rattle. So for every 1 serpent that we're destroying, we're actually creating 2. We're actually worse off than when we originally left. And so we define that law of the paradox of violence right here in my own mythological terminology. And it says, for every serpent split, 2 serpents spilt. And so that's our law of saying violence begets violence. And if you can see, the word split and the word spilt includes just a 1-letter transposition, the L and the I. And I find those to be quite elegant. I'm always kind of looking for those different rhythmic, poetic ways of writing. And I find the 1-letter transposition to be quite interesting. So what do they decide to do now that they have recognized that for every serpent split, 2 serpents built? What do they decide to do? They decide to take the 5 spines that they got from killing one of the 5 spines, and another builds 5 walls. They take the 3 scales that they got from Tri-Scale, and they build 2 gates. And now this is where it gets shitty. This is where the language is bad, but I want to say that the guy 1 who uses the spear as like a sort of key to lock the gates. And that is not written well. We've got Carson Silent. Hey, so good to see you, my brother. Carson, welcome to the chat. It's great to have you here. We've got a new format here we're testing today where we do quiet writing sessions and then come back and review. So we are currently in a review, and I'll check back in for you on what we're working on. For every we have 2 homies, one and another. That's these 2 guys. And they've been on a little bit of a quest. And they're reflecting on their quest, on everything that's happened. And they realized that when they killed 1 3 Fang, it became 2 Tri-Scale. These are evil serpents, okay? And when they killed 1 Tri-Scale, it became 2 5 Spine. And when they killed 1 5 Spine, it becomes 2 7 Rattle. So they learned the paradox of violence as written, as told in our mythology, which is for every serpent split, 2 serpents spilt. And you can notice that 1-letter transposition here of the L and the I for some elegance. And as a result, they're saying, fuck this, this is a futile endeavor. For everyone I'm trying to destroy, I get 2 out. Like, why am I even playing this game? Why am I even trying to do this? And so what they decide to do is they try to take the 5 spines that spilled out and they build 5 walls. And then they take the 3 scales that spilled out and they build 2 gates. I think it's going to be kind of cool to see 2 gates made out of 3 scales. We'll see if how I manage the numbers. And now what I'm working on now, because this is ugly, is I'm saying the guy with the spear is going to use his spear to lock the inside in and the outside out. lock the inside in and the outside out. And this is a very important concept that comes up a lot of times in mythology, where there is this gated area. There's an area that's separated inside and outside. The most common one is Eden, right? And everything on the inside is pure and happy, and everything on the outside is a wild, dangerous wilderness. And this is our creation of that Eden. So instead of just having it exist, they're actually building it. But what we need to do now that we've caught up a little bit on that is actually come up with some writing for how we take the spear and use it as a lock. So there's, in this one, we're using the word from these to build, right? So we're building, but I don't think the from to build works quite as well for using the spear to lock. Not quite sure about that. So let me see if I can think of something better while we're here. I think that kind of works. So from 3 scales, one builds 2 gates. From a spear, doesn't really work. Does he take 1 spear? I'm not sure he's taking it because he's not. We have to be very deliberate with our language here, and he's not taking it from anyone. He has it already. Is he turning it? Is he really transforming it? I'm not sure. I don't think turns a spear is really the right word. Does he transform it? Does he transform the spear into a lock? It seems like a little clunky. Transform. Cheap viewers, stream bill. Okay, we got a nice robot in the chat. What's up, Mr. Robot? I don't want any of your viewers for sale. No thanks. So from 2 scales, 1 builds 2 gates. We're trying to turn the spear into a lock here, fam. That's what we're trying to do. I think we can say from 1 spear for now. Locks the inside in and the outside out. That works for me. And we got rid of the, I think we can get rid of the does. Locks inside in and outside out. I think it's just as strong as locks the inside in and the outside out. And this is our older version of this. We can delete. That's actually quite better because we've been using thrust. Whenever one has been using his spear to fuck up these different serpents, the spear is associated with the verb thrust. So we can say he thrusts the spear betwixt gate and gate, locks inside in and outside out. And Carson, if you're still there, as you know, all these are going to be turned into hymns and they're going to have to rhyme. And be much more beautiful, so we don't get too caught up on the language. We're getting to the end of all the written drafts, and then ultimately we're going to come back and give it a nice revisit, all as a body of work, as 7 myths. This is the 5th gate chosen. This is the 5th of 7 myths, so we have 2 more after this to finish, and those will be done within the next 5 weeks. I have my goals really set out as far as writing is concerned, and then we'll have all of the rough drafts. And I think it's going to be great writing on stream to take our rough drafts and turn them into songs, right? And obviously, I can't write the music. I don't have that talent, not even close. But I can write the poetry, and I have some experience working with a legendary producer named Carson, who has translated some of my writing into hymns in the past, some of my poetry into hymns in the past. And I learned a lot about keeping the lines really short. As you can see, a lot of these lines are quite short. The reason for that is that when we are ultimately going to turn them into songs, those long lines sound horrible. And like the talented musician like Carson, who actually made the music that you're listening to behind this right now, they can make it work. They can force a long sentence into a line like that, but it does sound hymns incoming. Yeah, hymns incoming. Carson says, yeah. So we actually have our composer in the chat here. He's an absolute legend and inspired a lot of this. So, but working with that composer, that brilliant composer, I learned to keep these lines really short. And you can do a lot when there's actual music behind it. The story can be told, like you're not just relying on the words, and obviously the poetry should stand on its own, but the music can accomplish a lot itself. Who's singing, how loud they're singing, is it orchestral, is it just one person, is it a young person, is it an old person, is it increasing in volume, is it decreasing? And so there's a storytelling element there that if you're working with someone extremely talented, they can really make a lot out of your poetry. Okay, so this is where we're at, team. What happens is that we had I'll just catch us up here. We have two homies, and they realize that for every single one of the serpents that they split, for every one that they kill, two spilled, right? And so they decide to take the different materials that they built, right? So when they killed a 5-spine, they got 5 spines. And when they killed Triscale, they got 3 scales. And what they decide to do is they decide to build a sort of Eden, right? A separation between inside and out by building gates and walls. And this is kind of the first idea of an inside and an outside. And what we're going to do next is we are going to write what happens once they close the gate. So let's get into that. I think I'll actually write it out loud. We've been doing some quiet writing sessions, but I feel like I want to write this out loud right now because it's quite an interesting concept. And I think you guys will be able to follow along. If you've been following along so far, I do think that you're going to be able to follow along with what this next section is all about. So what would happen is we just lock the inside in and the outside out. And what we're going to do is actually, I think I do need a quiet writing session for this team. Need to focus for a sec, get it out, and then I'll explain it. So we're going to get that started. Relax, take a breather, get some nice tunes. I'm going to just be writing right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to take a second to gather my thoughts before I explain everything to you, because otherwise it won't be clear. made some good progress here. Let's first mark that as good. So where we were was we recognized the paradox of violence, and the two homies, one and another, they decide they're going to make their own enclosure, their own Eden, and they're going to lock the inside in and the outside out. But one of the homies, now that he's inside and he used his spear to lock the outside, he has two hands open. Before, he only had one hand open because he was holding the spear. And so he reaches and he grasps for his other homie with both of his hands. For the first time since they were born, he has both hands free to reach for his homie. And so the homie, who's still holding her staff, roots the staff so that she can grasp and reach one, so she can hold on to her buddy. And it's kind of a touching moment here where finally, now that they've built this moment of safety and they have both their hands free, and the writing is not perfect, but they have both their hands free, they're able to hold each other. So here we are, we have our two homies, one and another, and they hold and behold instead of reach and grasp one another. Kind of nice language there, right? Hold and behold one another, behold, hold, they're wrapped by each other. And that word wrapped is something that we used when a hero or one of the people who was hunting would get to the top of a spire and behold got the sun's divine splendor. And that word wrapped is quite important in the sense that not only is it wrapped as far as attention is concerned, it's all consuming with regards to your attention. It has an underlying tone of ecstasy, of euphoria. So if you're wrapped, it's not just that you are full of attention, but it's also that it's so good that your attention is so full. And so what I'm saying here is, look, these guys, one and another, they've gone really far. They killed 3 Fang, that became Tri-Scale. They killed Tri-Scale, which became 5 Spine. They killed 5 Spine, which became 7 Rattle. Then they take 5 Spines and they build 5 walls. Then they take 3 Scales and they build 2 gates. And they lock the inside in and they lock the outside out. And what do we finally get at the end? The guy who used his spear to lock them out, his hands are empty and he reaches with both hands to hold on to his homie. And the homie who still has something in her hands, he roots it down in the ground so that she can grasp and reach onto him. And what we're saying here is that one another hold and behold one another, and then they're wrapped by each other. And that's not the perfect language here, but I think you can get to what I'm saying, which is that it's a beautiful moment that they get to share with each other. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, team, and then we'll be right back. I'm just going to get some coffee, and we'll talk very soon. into it. We have a lot of writing still left to do today. We want to get to the end of this myth. We only have one more writing session set aside for this one, so we need to accomplish a lot. Let's just rewind a tiny bit here, not too far. I know a lot of people have been watching the whole time and I don't want to bore them. But essentially what we did was we built this construction, this sort of inside versus outside that has 5 walls and 2 gates, keeping in mind that 7 sides. 7 is extremely religiously significant for us. And once they're inside, the 2 homies who are one and other, they have 2 hands, and what they do is they're actually able to hold on to each other for the first time in a long time. They're able to hug, they're able to embrace, and it's a beautiful thing. And they get so caught up in that holding, they're kind of like swaying. Imagine the hug is so good, you just can't escape it, right? You just don't want to leave it. You're just in there, and you're safe for the first time because you've been able to lock the inside in and the outside out. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't just stay in the hug, right? But the universe has other ideas in mind for our homies, and what happens is, and we're going to write this together right now, is that while they're hugging and while they're just vibing, remember that one of the homies had rooted the staff, right? Had rooted the staff back where they began, and in order to have 2 hands free, in order to hug her homie, but that staff is still planted in there, and while they're just lost in this hug, deep time passes, and we're gonna have it like 2 orbital rotations happen, where more creatures are being created, and everything outside is continuing to go on while they're just hugging on the inside. And what's going to happen is that, remember that we have a fiery core at the center of our Earth, which, by the way, is one of the most interesting, insane things that we all just take for granted, that we have this beautiful planet that we all live on, and at the center there's just a fucking infinite fireball of fire and molten magma. Cool, bro. Yeah, we all just accept that that's what it is. Kind of insane, but word. So what happens is that obviously that spirit is called Four-Eye, and that goes back to an earlier myth, but don't worry about that. That heat comes out, and so you have these roots, it's going down, and from the roots we have fire that comes up, not just water, and it excavates out that center of that staff, and that staff becomes a flute. So if you can imagine that we have this hollow staff, and now music is coming out of it, myth is coming out of it, and it's singing a song, and that's going to wake these homies up from their slumber. I wouldn't exactly say it was a slumber, from their infinite hug. They're in an infinite hug, and now they're going to be woken up by the music, and so that's what we're going to be writing right now in this upcoming session, this upcoming quiet writing session. We're going to be talking about how the 2 homies are hugging for the first time with both their hands since they were born, and they get kind of lost. They get wrapped, R-A-P-T, by each other in this hug, wrapped by the embrace, which is also quite nice if you think about wrapped, R-A-P-T, which is, wrapped attention, but also has like a euphoric element. But you also think about wrapped with a W, W-R-A-P-P-E-D. If you imagine an embrace that is both a wrapped and a wrapped, right? So they're wrapping their arms around each other, but they're also wrapped by each other. And I think we can find a nice way to include both of those. But what we said is that while that's happening, the universe continues to move on without them. And the staff that they had put in the middle, that they had rooted in the center, is going from up in the roots. Is not only water going to come up, but also fire. And that's going to excavate the inside of the staff and make a flute. And music is going to come out of it. So that's what we're going to be working on. Here, let's say this is kind of what we're working on. You can say, how does the staff become a flute? I'm just putting this here so that you guys can see what it is I'm working on while I work on it. Let me highlight it. What color? Let's say brown. So this is the one that we're working on, team. And I'm gonna go into a quiet writing session. You'll be able to stick with me. It should be just vibey music and very relaxed. And then we'll come back together and see how we did together. So let me get that cooking. All right. Quiet writing for a little bit here, team. Gotta lock in. Hey Sonu, welcome to the chat. Thanks so much for joining us. Just going to be writing quietly for the next couple minutes here. You'll see in just 3 minutes I'll be able to respond to you properly. But I just wanted to say thank you and welcome to the chat. You're really welcome here. All right, Jeep. Welcome back. Um, Definitely ugly what we just wrote, but we were able to kind of get our ideas down on the paper at least. What I'm trying to say here is that while they're wrapped and holding each other, time passes outside. And there's a couple ways that we say that across these different myths quite well, which is usually Mother, Earth. She goes through her seasons, she dances, she twirls, she weeps. We have these different seasons. The issue is we haven't really brought up Mother in this hymn much, and I wonder if that's going to be a difficult way for us to do it. I think when we're working on the hymns, we really are going to need like a sort of chorus, or maybe not. It's not even really a chorus. It's sort of this constant repeating bit where we say, Mother dances and twirls, she spins, and saying that the time passes, right? Seasons pass. Because in this case, this is not quite working for me as far as to show that time is passing, but so I'll highlight it. I don't want to get stuck on it, but we are going to need to find a cleaner way to say that time is passing. And we have one, I just haven't quite invested in tidying it up. But we are going to need that, especially when these poems become hymns. I think that could be a nice part that everybody will know and be able to sing along to. The next thing that we're saying is that, we had rooted this staff. And I want to say that up the staff, up the roots of the staff comes not just water but fire. So I think we could say a cool way of saying that, right? So like if roots drink, you can drink fire. That's kind of cool. This is our way of saying, go back to earlier myths. We personify Earth as Mother Earth. She's the only daughter of light itself. She's a very important character in this entire mythology. And for time to pass, I'm saying that, we go through the seasons, so the weeping is like a rainy spring. Shivers is a cold winter, obviously. Let me mute this. Is a cold winter. Dancing is summer, and twirls is autumn, as leaves obviously circle round as they fall. And what I'm trying to say here is that as the time passes, staff roots drink. They drink water and fire, right? If we imagine roots as they go deeper, they're going deeper and deeper to the fiery core as well. Is there a better word? Kind of like a chimney, right? There's like mist coming up through it, and it's breaking its way through the staff to try to make a flute. We're saying that hollow's at the center, and then the staff becomes a flute. Also, Kei Sonu, sorry I was in the middle of like one of those quiet writing sessions when you joined. If you're still here, say what's up, and I'm happy to give you a little update on everything that we're working on. It's not clean, but it'll do for today. We have one more writing session on this, so we're gonna have to really clean it up next time. But we are getting through all the material, and a lot of it is logically sounding really good. Mist pours from the flute, from the mist a song of one, another, and another. That all works for me. So this is what we're saying, team. I'll give you an update. So we've got two homies, and they made a little house for themselves. And inside that house, they lock the inside in and they lock the outside out, and then they hug each other. Big hug. They get locked in that embrace. They're just so happy in it that they kind of forget about everything else that's going on in the universe. At that point, time continues to pass while they're just chilling inside, hugging each other. During that period of time, the universe continues to move on. And remember that we had, in order to have both hands free for that big hug, we had to root one of the staffs. And what I was trying to say is that that staff actually, the roots keep going down into the center of the earth, right? And they don't just drink water. They also drink fire, because there is a fiery core at the center of earth. And because they're drinking water and fire, that sort of mist, and don't worry too much about the language here, the staff is hollowed out and the staff becomes a flute. I hope you can picture that. It's kind of beautiful. And mist starts pouring from the flute. And from the flute, mist, and from the mist, a song. I'll clean up the rhythm in a second. I just want to catch you up. From the mist, a song. And what is that song? What song is it singing? Jay Crone says, good morning. Quick question. How you decide on a writing program/platform? The whole thing seems very complicated to organize to me. That's a great question. I'm going to answer that in roughly 1 minute for you. So mist pours from the flute, from the mist, a song, and we got a song of one and other, a song of another and another. So essentially we're hearing the song, the hymns of the myths that came right before this. Does that make sense? Because they're etched in with their stories, etc. So to answer Jay Crone's question, I'm going to read it out loud here. Good morning. Quick question. How did you decide on a writing program/platform? The whole thing seems very complicated to organize to me. That's a terrific question, Jay Crone. Let's talk about it. So primarily the software that I use is Notion. And I used it because I've actually been a fantasy author since I was 15. And I've used pretty much everything out there. I started on Evernote. Then I went to Simple Note, and I was really having trouble keeping synchronicity across different devices. You know, I have Windows computers because I'm a gamer, and I would have an Apple phone or vice versa. And when Notion came out in 2019, it was kind of my saving grace. It was kind of the most amazing, incredible thing for me. And here, I can try to show you guys how I do this. I have to keep all the tabs pretty clean here for the sake of the stream, but I will show you while I'm talking. There should be a way to do this. Give me 1 second. I'm getting better with the text. So this, if I go here, oh yeah, can you guys see that? So let's go through my Notion a little bit. So essentially what I did was I found Notion, and Notion was just incredible for the world building side. It was so good at linking within documents. It was so good at keeping track of timeline of it. So you see this is called like a database in Notion. So good at allowing me to tag things, so good at allowing different documents, so good at allowing me to date different things so I wouldn't lose track of them. And I found it to just be so exactly perfect. And if you want to see how I manage this, this is my calendar of all my writing goals. And then this are all my documents. You can see we have files here. So obviously we create a lot of files. There's music, there's art when it comes to actually creating this thing. And I keep track of all of them here. So if I hop on any computer anywhere, I'll be able to absolutely be able to download whatever files I need. But then what I found when it came to Notion was that it's not so inspiring, the actual page to write on. So if I come here and let's go to this one here. Looking in at Notion, I didn't find it to be the most inspiring to actually write in when it comes to actual fiction. And so what I thought I would do is find another tool that would be better for live writing that I felt would be a little bit more inspiring. And a lot of people were really promoting, this took up my whole screen, okay, instead of having me also. All right, not perfect, but what can you do? Anyway, so what, and I found that it wasn't the most inspiring from that perspective, from the actual writing fiction perspective. And I heard about this IA writer tool where you can really see the focus on each given sentence. And I feel that it's been perfect for this live writing so that people can see exactly what I'm working on. Even when I'm in one of the quiet writing sessions, I am working on it with there. So there are more advanced tools. I think like Notion is pretty much the best for keeping track of all your information and just keeping it in one place and organizing yourself. But I think it's not the best for actually the writing side, the fiction side. I think it's kind of an uninspiring place. There's only a limited number of fonts that you can use. There's only a limited number of things that you can actually do on the page itself. And so I would recommend Notion for the world building side, and I'm still figuring out if this IA writer tool is going to be my go-to tool, but I like how little there is going on in it right now. I find it to be quite good. If I just have to get my writing done, I can kind of get lost in the sauce of organizing and organizing and organizing. And it's kind of nice to this place is just for writing. It's just writing documents, and they export really easily. And they're really small. They're .md files, which is one of the best type of files on email. They come out really small and they're really easy to download and share. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm kind of a master of Notion when it comes to the world building and the databases side. Worked in technology for 10 years. And part of that was I was the product manager of internal tools at different fashion companies. And part of that job was actually setting up the Notion for everyone in a really advanced way. So I have a lot of hours in that tool, but I am finding that it's not right for the actual fiction writing. It's not right for chapter writing. It's not right for poetry writing. It's more for organization. It's just not an inspiring platform to look at while I'm actually doing the writing. That's my personal take. So I hope that answers your question, Jay Cron, and I'm going to get back into the writing now. Feel free to ask any follow-ups, and we'll get into there. But let me touch back with what it is that we're talking about here on the writing front, which is we had this staff that was planted in the ground, and its roots started stretching down into the earth. And remember, at the center of the earth, there's like a fiery molten core. And so, in addition to drinking water, it also is drinking fire. And so, the staff, as it's getting filled with both water and fire, the center of it is excavated out, it's hollowed out, and it becomes a flute. And just because it becomes a flute doesn't mean that the mist stops coming out of it. In fact, the mist continues to come out of it, and that's how music is being played. And so, even though we had our homies who were in a major hug that was like an infinite hug, they couldn't basically not even escape it. Now that there is music coming out, they are woken up from their slumber. And what is the song that they hear, right? What is that song? It's one particular song, which is the only song, the song, which is called A Song of One Another, Another and Another, right? And I know that sounds a little confusing, but if you go back one myth from us, and there are videos on my channel, you can go ahead and check those out. One and other are the protagonists of the last myth, and the protagonists of this myth are another and another. So this is the song of one and other, another and an other, which has a nice rhythm to it, but essentially it's just telling their story. It's a song that tells their story. And so what happens? So these are the next things that happen. Number one is they wake up, right? But number two is that everyone and every other, and you'll see how the language is quite cool here, quite unique. Everyone and every other gather around the gate. Right, so what happens is the song comes out of the flute, right? So the staff turns into a flute, and that wakes them up. But what also happened was, remember that they were during the time that they were hugging, time passed and new creatures were made, new people were made, new people were born. And so what I'm saying is that not that everyone and every other, which is different than another and an other, right? We have to be very specific here. We have to be quite clean here. Gather around the gate and they knock and they want to come in. And so before I tell you what they decide to do, whether they let them in or not, I'm going to read Jay Crone's comment here. So what do we have? We have, thank you for the thorough explanation. Have you tried to avoid using any AI to organize or proofread? What's your stance on it? My stance on AI is this. Yeah, it's amazing. I absolutely love AI. And the way I view it is really as like the totem of human knowledge. It's everything that we have learned, and it is terrible at actually writing fiction. It has no sense of rhythm. It has no sense of cadence. It has no sense of harmonics. It gets very depersonalized very quickly. You can tell when something's written by AI. And yet, it's great as a thesaurus. It's great as a soundboard when you're just trying to wrestle with some complicated ideas. It's terrific. I also think it's a great proofreader. When I finish a story, when I finish one of these myths, the first thing I do when I'm like actually properly done is I copy and paste the whole thing and I put it into an advanced AI project. I can actually even show you what it looks like. Let me see what my advanced AI project looks like. Okay. Here we go. You guys see that? I'll show you. I am not ashamed at all of using AI. So if you come in here, I have this myth writing project. And let me show you how it's formatted. If I come down here to the file section, every outline I've ever made, I keep these outlines somewhat up to date. The last time I updated this, March 31st. And so it knows a lot about the project. It's quite aware of my project and what my goals are and where I'm going with this. And then at the end of this session, what I do is I just copy and paste the whole thing in and I just go, what do you think? Most of the time it says bullshit, but sometimes it actually catches something, a logical fallacy, it catches spelling mistakes, it catches grammatical inconsistencies. Sometimes it catches just weaknesses in the whole story. And so my stance on AI is you should use it, and you should use it ethically. I think it's going to be quite obvious if you're just, having it rip, shit off the internet and spew. But these stories are so unique. I'm really not concerned about I'm really just not concerned about anyone being able to use AI to make anything similar to what we're doing. And I find it to be a wonderful tool. I think if you over rely on it, you're just wasting time and you're going around in circles and you're not going to get there. You need to really be working on your own and then coming back to it. But I believe strongly in the future of AI, and I think it's entirely ethical to use it. And I also think that it's a lot like the way it currently is in Hollywood with plastic surgery, where everyone is getting it and no one wants to talk about it. The same with authors. I think every single author is using it now, at the very least, for grammatical checking and proofreading and sentence structure. At the very least, word repetitions, thesaurus. But I would bet my bottom dollar that they're also using it for outlining and brainstorming, because it's just a good tool. And I think that the sooner that you get onto the idea that AI is here to stay and it's a valuable tool to help enhance humans, the better off people are going to be, because it's only going one way. It's only getting smarter, and it's only going to get more important to figure out how it actually works for you, and everyone's going to find different values in it. And the last thing I'll say about AI is that I really think it makes smart people smarter and dumb people dumber. For smart people, it can really accelerate their research. It can find sources that they never would have found before. It can serve as a springboard for their own ideas that are just chaotically bouncing around in their heads. Just get it out on paper, spew it, get it out and done. But if you're dumb and you're just going to go there and ask it to answer everything for you every single time, and you're not going to provide that level of problem solving and thinking where your first instinct is just to ask AI, then you're dog shit, and you're only going to get dumber. So that's my perspective on that, Jake Grown. Thank you for the great questions. Let's get back into the writing here. So they wake up, everyone and every other gather around the gates. They knock and seek entrance, so they can get closer to the music. This is not written mythically yet, but it is what we're trying to say. And what do you guys think? You think they let him in, or you think they don't? You think they turn him away, or you think they let him in? Obviously they let him in. Come on. What kind of people do you think they are? They let the homies in, for sure. They're going to let the homies in. So... So let's do a review here, team. We're wrapping up today's session, and we'll finish the entire myth later. Let me just delete all this other shit we worked on. I'm going to start from the top, and we'll walk through everything that we did today. From a coursing river. So what happens is we have two homies who are born, and they're the exact same as the two homies from the story right before this. The homies from the story right before this were called One and Other. These guys are called Another and an Other, right? And they're the exact same thing, which means that they're two hands. They're twins and they have two hands. I know it sounds complicated, but it's really not. They're twins and they have two hands. One is, and what happens is they're exactly the same as the other homies who came before them, except that the one another who came before them left gifts behind for them, right? They left a staff and a spear that have their story etched in it. It's the origin of writing. They didn't want them to make the same mistakes that they made. And so the new homies, they come up and they, learning from their mistakes, are able to defeat serpent after serpent, they're able to destroy them. But at the same time, what they learn is that what they learn upon reflecting after killing a few of these serpents, they reflect, right? That's where we are here. Is that one 3-fang became 2 triscale, and I use become because it sounds cooler in a more mythical tone. One 3-fang became 2 triscale. One triscale became 2 5-spine. One 5-spine became 2 7-rattle. And so, for every serpent split, 2 serpents spilt, right? And you are getting you're not actually getting anywhere. It feels like you are stuck. And so from 5 spines. So what they decide to do, because it's seemingly futile to continue trying to kill these bad guys when you're only increasing the number of bad guys, they decide to take the spines and take the scales they got from their battles, and they decide to make a building, right? So they make walls and they make a gate, and they lock the inside in and the outside out. Now that they're inside, they're able to hug each other and really lock themselves in an embrace. And time passes while they're locked in their embrace. And while that time passes, the staff that they had is rooted in the ground. And it doesn't just drink water, but it also drinks fire. And it's hollowed out in the center. And instead of a staff, we now have a flute. And the mist continues pouring out of it, and a song comes out. And it's the song of one and other, another and other. So it's the song of everything that's happened so far. It's their story. And so it wakes them up, but at the same time, it also encourages all the other ones and all the others all across the world to gather around the gate, and they want entrance. They want to be closer to the music, you know? They're like shuffling in at Coachella, trying to get in, to get a better spot. And ultimately, our homies, one and another, decide to let them in and welcome them in. And the issue is that what we're going to find is that the lesson that they're going to have to learn is that you can't lock the outside out. You know, a flood is going to be starting to gather on the outside of their, and they're not going to be able to ignore it. They're not going to be able to hide from that flood inside. And that's the decisions they're going to have to make. We're going to have one more writing session on this myth where we have to clean up the ending here. But after that, we're going to be moving on to the second to last myth, which is called Chosen, where they're going to have to choose someone to go out and fight that flood, fight that storm that is incoming, because they cannot just hide behind the walls and gates any longer. It will not work. So that's all for the writing today. I don't think I'm going to be gaming today. I am starting to learn. I am going to be gaming on this channel, but I'm still figuring out how that's going to work. Usually I've been really tired and low energy when I'm gaming writing sessions, and I think it's more important to a gaming channel, and I need to figure out kind of how that all works. But all my energy is going into try to make these writing streams better and better, is going into trying to make these writing streams sustainable, so that I can continue doing them twice a week forever. And that is it. So I'm gonna hop off, team. I really appreciate everybody swinging by. There were some great questions in the chat today, specifically from Jake Crone. I really appreciate that, so thank you. We also had some new homies coming through, saying what's up. We got some new followers on Twitch. That's always great to see. And so I really am grateful. I think this channel is growing in its own slow way, and we're going to continue to find a way. We're extremely persistent over here at the iWarner channel. We don't give up, and so we only get better. So with that, I bid y'all